You recording? All right.
So here we are. So I don't know if the audience remembers us both or faces. So that is Jeff Schneider and Uwe Boll, and maybe we explain them how we know each other. What was this? Maybe you explain it a little in the beginning.
I mean, we've known I've seen you at like the American film market a couple times over the years. That's probably the last time that I saw you. But we are known, Uwe, for duking it out. When you infamously challenged your critics to put up or shut up. And I actually had never seen one of your movies before I got in the ring, or at least before I accepted that challenge. And you chose me, I guess, because I fit the physical requirements out of all the ain't it cool news guys. None of those guys were able to get in the ring back in the day. And so it was like this wild publicity stunt. It's a footnote in pop culture history that I'm proud to be a part of, even if I got my ass kicked on camera.
Nobody forgets you like throwing up at the sidewalk. Um, but in retrospective, so what? Why you had to throw up? Was it because of body punches, or was it you ate before, drank too much, and then it all came out? Or what was
No,
the?
it was adrenaline.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
adrenaline from the fight and everything, right? And then
yeah.
also, my trainer, from what I remember, got drunk before the match, and so I didn't really have a corner man. And so when I left the ring and went back to the locker room or whatever, I had nobody to get the tape off my gloves and get my gloves off. I had no one to get the face mask off, and I just felt so, claustrophobic or whatever, I think. And I didn't even make it back to the locker room. I just dropped right there.
I know. I had to give you oxygen or something, and
Yeah.
I felt that the thing was when I said I want to box the critics, I got it was triggered, I think, at that point by Blood Rain, what got the same reviews like Alone in the Dark or House of the Dead, even if it's different movies, but it doesn't matter, the reviews were the same. I of course thought that you in a way wrote about my films before. And then later when you did the interview said you never watched the film, I was kind of shocked because I hoped, of course, that you watched the movies and trashed them. But I got so many applications from people that were just not even a review. They were not even a journalist. And that was not the point, right? So the point was, of course, to do this as a publicity stunt where a director fights against the critics. So, and now, yeah, I think we had a illustral round of people there. Uh, I think Richard Kianka. Later, I went in contact with him. I think we made up in a way, that it was like, because I was pissed that he said that I promised him that I wouldn't hit him. And that's bullshit, and that was just
Obviously, it's like I knew you're trying to take all of our heads off.
exactly. And then I mean, but I remember when you guys came to the sparring where I did that sparring with that other guy, and I mean, I think everybody was aware that we will not do like a fake dance in the ring, that it will be physical contact, and that when he tried to bash me in that way, that I promised him that I would not hit him, that I felt was low. I mean, like, because that makes me, it made me look like an asshole. People were writing about it and said, look, Uwe, you promised him not to hit him and then you hit him very hard. I mean, that's just bullshit.
We all knew. I can tell you right now, we all knew what the deal was getting into that ring. Low Tax, I think, was maybe the least well equipped to put up a fight. I mean, I'm someone who played sports in high school,
Yeah.
and I did make it to the second round against you, but then I threw in the towel. I was like, holy shit, I'm getting rocked. I also, didn't quite know how to box. I didn't realize what a toll it would take on my legs.
That's hard. That was my experience when I started boxing when I was young. I mean, at that point where we boxed, I was also not boxing for 10, 12 years anymore, right? And but it's like it's totally different, as you said, with the adrenaline, and it's so exhausting that people cannot like get it before you are in a ring and somebody attacks you, because everything kicks in, and then every step in the ring is like 100-meter run. It's like you're way faster out of breath and the pulse goes up and everything in comparison to you do a jogging run or you play tennis or something. It's a totally different thing where you have a better pulse and breathing control as in a dangerous situation in the ring.
So here's the question that I have for you, and I think a lot of people are wondering. There's two things. Do you think that today's online atmosphere is better or worse than it was back then? Now, and that's number one. And number two, do you think that publicity stunt helped or hurt your career?
I think both questions are a yes and no. You know, it's like it's very tough to answer that question because what happened is we were at that point pre-social media.
Right.
You know, we were really on pay-per-view there, and we were like this kind of in the journalist, everybody wrote about it, and the only clips were on YouTube. So for people to watch in today's time, I think the publicity would be gigantic, and we would have like TikTok people, Instagram people. So it would be bigger in today's time. If it would be better, I don't know. But of course, now I think, and that what is one of my questions to you too, is like the landscape changed so much that you have now people like in Germany, there are some people on YouTube, they have more power to do this or this to a movie as everybody who writes in the cinema magazine or something. You know, they really move the needle on productions. So how you feel to keep working? I mean, in all that years, you stayed a journalist in that field. So what changed
It's
for you?
it's again, it's good and bad because I think it's a good thing that I can make a living for myself and I don't need to be at Variety anymore, right? I can be independent and make a living for myself with my newsletter. So I like the rise of newsletters and but at the same time the democratization of criticism isn't always for the best because, like you said, back in the day, someone basically had to hire you to be a critic. Someone approved of your writing and blessed you and said, "Okay, you're going to be the critic at our newspaper or magazine or whatever." Nowadays, everyone's a critic. Everyone has a camera and can go on TikTok, and they consider themselves critics, and it's just not quite the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was one of the reasons when I did the stunt there with the reviewers was I felt that and now more even more in today's time where I did a lot of movies after my video game based movies, they were like political, like Darfur, Tunnel Rats, Rampage, like smaller movies in a way, but better movies and movies I think they matter. And that I never got a real fair shot again because I'm the video game guy who shot only crap, right? So, and that was not so easy, you know. And I feel like a lot of people, especially then when social media kicked in, they just write what they read, what they hear. They keep repeating it, and they don't see movie by movie. It's almost absurd to see this kind of how many other movies I have to make before they recognize that I'm not doing video game based movies anymore. And that also now in today's time, we have so many video game based movies that they see myself a little as yeah, not the front runner or whatever, like I triggered the trend in a way. You know, I mean, I think before me was maybe Wing Commander, and
Yeah,
you
and Super
know,
Mario Brothers, basically.
yeah, you know, but there were like individual little movies about, made out of video games, and then
Right.
in a way it started like buck every year another movie, and now it's total like the competition to comic book movies in a way. So it really
And
growed.
and were those your first two movies, Alone in the Dark and House of the Dead?
No, I did before a few German movies.
Okay,
And then
okay.
I did two American movies. Heart of America with Elizabeth Moss in her first part, was a school drama, and Blackwoods, what was a thriller. So, and then House of the Dead came to me through this company, Mindfire Entertainment, who had the rights, who had the script. Sega said yes to that script. And then they found me, and we did the movie together. So I basically jumped on the project because I, in a way, liked zombie movies, like George Romero zombie movies. And I never made a movie like this. And I felt after Heart of America, why not doing something total genre? And the absurd thing is that House of the Dead made a lot of money. It's also a thing. I mean, you're deep in it, but when you see a lot of people writing about movies, they have just no clue where revenues coming from.
Oh yeah, no.
That's like when you say, "Oh, House of the Dead, $11 million box office, what a flop." But it was $7 million budget. Like I mean, that's the thing. You have to put it all in relationship to what the movie's costs are, and a lot of people don't see that. They just say,
Right.
"Okay,
I mean, and I understand that inclination though, that like we declare winners or losers based on theatrical revenue because we don't know how many DVD units were sold. That's rarely trumpeted. We don't know what the VOD sales are, what the split is between the studio and the cable company. So, I think it's just that because people don't know how to factor those sorts of things in, it just all becomes on box office.
yeah," and I mean, but half of the box office stays with the exhibitors normally,
Right.
So, and for House of the Dead, I still get money from Lionsgate. I think we're on 27 million in revenues out of USA and Canada on House of the Dead. So that's the reason I could make more movies. This was also when people always say, you regret that you did that movies. I said, no, because that movie's got money and I made money. And then if I made a movie about Darfur, where like then I was able to basically pay the movie with my own money.
Well, to your credit, I think you got better as a director as well. Like those were a
Thank you.
little bit earlier in your career. I think I liked Postal. I gave that, a good review. That was a clever satire. And the
Yeah,
best movie that I think you've done is Tunnel Rats. I think that's a legit movie, but people don't give you a fair shake because you already have this reputation or whatever, and
yeah.
they're looking to have their preconceived notions reinforced. Um, but like the other thing that I've always liked about you is that you're a provocateur and that you have balls. And I think that we both agree that having balls is somewhat missing from the landscape today. And I'm curious as to your thoughts as like, what's wrong with Hollywood these days, obviously. What is the thing that they can be doing better that you know how to do better? That kind of stuff. What is your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I when 2016, I said I'm not doing after Rampage 3. I felt like I'm not doing movies anymore, and I focused on that restaurant in Vancouver, like open a restaurant. And then 2020, I slowly moved back to movies because at the point Blockbuster went down, the streamers were not really there to fill the void. There was not like they gave you the same amount of money you could make with a DVD or Blu-ray. And that was for me like how I ever want to recoup the budget if Blu-rays and DVDs are not getting produced anymore and the rental goes almost to zero. So then the streamers growed and I felt okay, that's better now. So that's you have more possibilities to make money. But I think then the streamers turned into studios uh,
Hmm.
with like more attorney algorithm, like where you feel it's even worse. Like when I worked a lot with Fox, then they got bought and everybody got fired. I knew, like stuff like this was devastating. That a lot of swallow up happened, and it doesn't stop now. It looks like it continues in a way. And all these tech companies like Apple, Amazon, for them it's a side business. And Netflix, I hoped they stay a little more maverick, kind of independent, but now they're moving full on into a network in a way. They do live sports, like they're moving towards NBC, ABC all together with some movies and some TV series and dominate the market. And so right now, I think we are in the next revolutionary situation. What I feel a lot of independent filmmakers, we only can make money if we basically uh, put the movies up ourselves and try to promote them that the maximum revenues like in TVOD, SVOD, AVOD comes to us. because Netflix, I think Netflix bought around 15 of my movies, but they were already like not new, the movies, but they never paid more as like 80 grand. They
Mhm.
said, okay, we take Rampage for 80,000 for a year, but that is how much they pay for like just license deals. And that's not enough to make a movie. So the question is where you get the money, the rest of the money back if you get so low fees for a license deal. And I think that's the critical point. I felt also when the actors, when they all went on strike, I think in a way they missed the point, because they were fighting for this kind of equal pay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but that is only interesting for everybody who is in the system. If you're like a regular on Mandalorian or whatever, then the strike made sense. But if you're an actor and you're like happy to get any job, the strike made it almost impossible that with unions you can work as an independent filmmaker. They make it too expensive, So
Right.
and I felt like that now this two-class system, like you have the people they're getting pampered and getting massive amounts of money from the streamers, and production deals, 100 million, 200 million, and then you have people that struggle to get one movie made, and then trying to get the money back. Like of course
Yeah.
everybody comes always up with that Oscar-winning movie like Anora or whatever, but that's one. I bet there were 100 movies like Anora's quality in the market, but nobody watched them. Nobody saw them. Nobody picked them up to make a campaign. So, and that risk is just very high in general.
But do you think that are filmmakers taking enough risk these days? Like, I'm curious what you think about someone like Eli Roth's new model, where he's going to try to crowdfund a studio and have people invest in a slate and that kind of thing. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
you.
think that I think Rodriguez is doing that too, right? With the bare knuckle films or whatever he's doing in Austin. Uh, I think there are two tiers. I think on the one hand, it's desperation, because they're not getting the money what they want, so they go for more this kind of crowdfunding idea. Give
Right,
me,
exactly.
yeah,
People think it's a magical opportunity. I'm like, listen, they wouldn't be coming to you if they could just get it elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think they will return a lot to, is it like a donation or is it a real investment what they're getting? I don't know. If the people give them money and they think they make money out of it, then I think a lot of people will get disappointed, So, but if it's just like, give me money and I shoot a film, have a good time. So then he can keep it. I don't know what the legal situation is for this, but
Okay.
uh, I think, yeah, I mean, everybody tries to get things done and moves forward. And look, I had that situation with First Shift. Like I did that cop movie, then Paramount Plus and Showtime bought it, and then we were like really 20 weeks in the top 10. I got always like from the actors, they sent me the screenshot from like Paramount Plus. They're like, look, number three in drama, number two in action. And I like, wow, perfect, right? So I contacted through the distributor in the US who did the deal. I contacted Paramount Plus and we said, look, why we don't do First Shift as an 8-part miniseries? Why we don't do whatever part two, part three? And then we got like so far that the guy said, okay, if you do two more movies, we can give you 1.9 million for both movies together for the streaming rights for the US. So we said, okay, that's good, paper it, right? So never came. Then we emailed them later, and I got higher up the ranks to the people they answered, and then they said, no, we are not paying, we don't have the money. And then, I mean, that was so absurd. So I wrote them back. I mean, you're aware I'm watching Paramount Plus, and I know what Taylor Sheridan gets. And to say you don't have 1.9 million for two movies when you like shelf out like for 7 shows parallel 20 million bucks an episode. I mean, that's completely insane, right? So, and I mean, then of course communication stopped. But they were pissed about me. But I mean, as you said, I'm a disruptor. I'm not the guy who holds back, because I felt just as completely absurd. I mean that's the thing, or maybe the rankings are wrong. I don't know. Like maybe all that rankings, or your number three, your number two is all total bullshit, and they make it out of the ass. I don't know. You
To
know.
me, they can manipulate everything. They can make it so that a certain TV show or movie comes on immediately after what anyone on the platform is watching. All they have to do is flip a switch to do that, and that inflates the numbers.
Yeah, but the question is why they should did that for me, like a license deal where they paid like 150,000 bucks for. I mean, they normally would not help me at all. So that's the thing why I felt like maybe the numbers are real. I got a lot of emails from people that watched it. So then I felt okay, maybe they're actually watching so many people. But yeah, so now we want to do part two, part three in New York in September as an indie, right? So, and then we want to license it and hope then maybe we can get to a series or whatever that we get something done. But I think the future is really like you get the money from a streamer, or you are a lottery jackpot attempt guy. Like that's the thing. I mean, you cannot seriously make independent movies anymore, and you think you can get the money back. It's just not working in the market. They all pay like Japan paid for Alone at the Dark $1 million, for Blood Rain $1 million. They give you now 25,000 bucks.
Right.
It's like that the pricing went completely down the drain because all that countries, all that independent distributors have no pull anymore because they don't have the DVD Blu-ray. They're basically only men in the middle. So they're coming and then they buy your movie, and then they go to Netflix or they go
Right.
to Amazon, right? And then they say, no, we don't take it. Then they're totally fucked. And they regret that they even bought for 100 grand the distribution rights. So I think that's it. It's a very tough situation, I think, in the market. And now on top, we have AI, where you have like, okay, now like half of the crew will be soon disappearing. So
Do you feel threatened by AI, or do you plan to use it as a tool to, get movies made?
both, right? So I'm not look, when I know people, they email me like, look, soon you just put your script in the computer and the movie comes out, right? So is that not great? And I always say, no, it's the worst thing ever because the whole point of a movie making is a process with other people that you do something. I don't see myself sitting here and just typing shit in, and then the movie is done, looks super photorealistic, and still a filmmaker. That's not how I picture me. Or, I mean, I can imagine other people are super happy to do this, so and feel like, okay, I could never make a movie. Now I do it always AI. So, but of course, when you have we have a project, for example, that plays in British Columbia in the 1800s, where a lot of slaves from the US got citizenship in Canada. And so they went over there. And okay, a movie like this is undoable in today's time without AI, where you have to do all the backgrounds and so on. I think that's the future of these green screens that will be all disappearing, and you can replace backgrounds. You make scenes bigger. You put the extras in the back, and they're not like existing in reality. I feel extras, CGI technicians, music composers, even script writers, writers' rooms, they all will lose people and use AI additional.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe there will be less shooting. It will be like half half. But I still believe in shooting with real people something.
What have you like seen lately that you've liked or couldn't stand? And you're just like, how is this successful?
uh, I think the last movie I was in was with my kids here, Karate Kid, the new one. What
Okay.
was not so good as Cobra Kai. We were big Cobra Kai fans here in this family. I love that show. It had the heart, right? So
Right.
where you felt they really took care of the legendary, the history, and so on. And I felt the movie was rushed. I still liked it. It was not so bad, but it was not really moving the needle. And I
That's
mean,
fair.
I watch most here also on stream, like I mean when I watched Borderland, I just couldn't hold it back. I felt like, okay, there's finally a video game based movie what is way worse as everything I ever shot. And I mean that was really bad. I could not
Uh,
believe, to be honest, that Kate Blanket and so on, that they didn't stop it. That they didn't said like, what the fuck, Eli? Like we cannot do this. That doesn't make any sense, and it is so off that it's not even campy. It's not funny. It's shit. And that I mean, you have Kevin Hart and so on, that they tanked that so badly. That's for me unbelievable. And the thing, what made me also upset is the House of the Dead that they do now, the new House of the Dead with Paul Anderson, that like the Resident Evil guy. And because I told not Lionsgate for 8 years, let's do a reboot. Let's do it, right? So let's do another House of the Dead. No,
mhm.
no, nothing. And I said, like, but you look at your own revenues, right? I mean, I get the accountings. Like, why that was a bad investment? I mean, that's other movies would be happy to have that results. No, we don't do it. And then boom, I read the news, like, okay, like a big Sony movie, coming out. But I'm kind of excited about it too, because then we will see what with all that CGI zombies now, if that can compete. If the more campy, real blood effects, what we did, um, is in the end maybe the better way to tell stories like this, as to go always so big and this. I'm not the big fan of too much CGI in general.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I watched all the Conclave. I started almost sleeping. I mean, it was just like the problem with Conclave was for me, like you kind of know where it's going. It's like not like a lot of surprising things happening. And Anora, I found entertaining. It had really something, like where it was like absurd, but in a way interesting to watch. And the Emilia Paris thing, I think had the best story because it was a true story, but it didn't fit as a musical.
Right.
I felt like if you would told that film more like Narcos or something, like a real, like more gangster or gang thing, that would turn into a better movie. But in general, like coming almost back to the first question you did, is when you see the overall quality of movies in today, now where the streamers producing so much, it went drastically down. And when you said like, are the people not courage enough to go edgy or to go like really to things they matter? I agree with what you said there, that it's not, it's all like, when they say, oh, an important emotional movie, whatever, okay, but not really. Like I don't think everything all at once or whatever was an important movie. It was like a TikTok video clip. It was, like where you feel like, okay, that's interesting how they did it, but it's not like the Godfather, Apocalypse Now, or or all that movies of the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, where you had the feeling there were real stories they told, and that went a little away. You have all that big action stuff now, and the Marvel and DC and all that stuff, and then you have this front runners for all that film festivals, but they're not really, also not really political anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like like when I think of the provocateurs of the town, it's still guys like you and Lars von Trier and Nick Refn. And it's like, well, what's the next generation of those filmmakers? And I don't really see many of them. Maybe it's Damien Leone with, his Terrifier movies and the way that he just puts those out unrated and he's, rebuffed other studios, to keep true to his vision. But, that's what I am looking for. I'm looking for like, where's the next Requiem for a Dream?
Oh yeah. For example, that I mean that was a perfect example of an uncompromising film where you don't get it out of your head. Where you feel like Holy fucking shit, they go all the way through to the bitter end. And you didn't, I mean, Rosemary's Baby, the original or something. There were more like this in the older days where you had like this kind of, or you had the political elements, Manchurian Candidate, China Syndrome. They all had to do with things they actually happened or they could happen, and they were political. And that's now, it's all like when they say this is a political movie, it's not really. The Apprentice, whatever, the Trump thing, that was not really a political movie. That was basically like a TV of the week movie. That is how I felt about that movie. Like, of course, it's about Trump and it's because of Trump more interesting, but it's also this kind of, okay, but what that movie doesn't lead me to anything about, uh, is Trump a crime gangster syndicate owner, or is he actually no, a good president or not? I mean, it stops there, right? So it just leads up to something, but it's not like this kind of movie where people really getting look at JFK from Oliver Stone. There was a clear agenda behind that, right? The country killed the president, the CIA, the fucking George Edgar Hoover did it. So, and you needed a lot of courage to put that out at that time. So, and I mean, Oliver Stone, even if he went, I think, in a way, a little down the drain, but he did one few of my favorite movies of all time, The Natural Born Killers and so on.
Love Natural Born Killers. I feel like, to your point though, it's almost like you're trying to play to both sides. No one wants to alienate anybody, no one wants to alienate half the audiences, so they make something that, doesn't really isn't really as dangerous as JFK was. I happen to love The Apprentice. I thought of it more as a character study, but you're right, it's not terribly political.
No, I think the movie was good. I agree. I was entertained watching the movie. It was interesting to see how it all began or what,
Right.
and that's 100%. But it was not like a movie where after this a president has to step back or something. It's like it doesn't have this edge to it. I mean, think about Deer Hunter or Apocalypse Now. That were the main movies where the American or the worldwide population was confronted with the horrors of that war. The rest was TV reports. And at that time, there was not so many, it's not like today, right? So where you have like 24/7 if something happens. But, and I think they really nailed how idiotic that war was. And like that it was so wrong to be even in the Vietnam War. And they were not done 30 years after the Vietnam War. They were done like 5 to 10 years after the Vietnam War.
There's someone I want to ask you about, David Fincher. I'm curious how you look at his career, and this is a guy who's so talented, but has given up on theatrical and is content to make movies for Netflix. Do you support that, or are you like, why, we need to try to save theaters? Like, why would you turn your back on theaters? Or is that like, if they just offered you the money and let you do whatever you want, is that you're like, hey, that's good for me. I don't need theaters.
I mean, I would maybe not like do a decision forever, but of course, if I have a project or a script and they say we finance it completely, I would love it. I would think perfect. Yeah. So, but that I mean, in a way, Fincher and Christopher Nolan went like the opposite ways now, but
Right.
they were similar, talented, top-notch directors. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like he just don't want the stress, because I mean, what should happen on a streamer? Like, okay, if nobody watches it, nobody really gets that info. It's like the fall you can do if you flop in the movie theaters is brutal,
Right.
especially now where only a few movies getting made who get the real support. I mean, a lot of movies getting into the movie theaters, but with like 5 copies, like, and not really money behind. So, but if the studios gamble on you and you fail, maybe he didn't want to do it anymore. And I felt like the with Fassbinder, the movie, like the way he played the killer. What was the name? The Killer?
Yeah,
No,
Killer. That was great.
Yeah, I love that film, you know, and I think that movie would flop in the movie theaters. I think it would not, like in today's time, like 15 years ago, it would totally work on David Fincher's new movie. Now people like, I wait, you know, and watch it for free. So I think it really depends. And I think Christopher Nolan said it even in an interview, like he goes so big because otherwise he will never make a movie again. So that's the thing, you know, like if you go with Oppenheimer to a studio and you say, look, let's do it for 20 million bucks, it could still work. They will never do it. You know, but if you go in, it goes 150 million bucks will be the most sensational thing about the nuclear bomb ever seen. I have tons of top stars playing it. Then the studio thinks maybe that could be an Oscar runner, and you know, I mean, he can afford it to have that big visions because he gets all that actors.
Did you think Oppenheimer deserved to win Best Picture? Or do you think everybody was just lining up to kiss the ring?
I don't know. I mean, the competition was not too good,
That's
you
fair.
know. So that's the thing. I mean, if you like whatever put Oppenheimer against like Jaws, I would give it to Jaws. You know, I mean that's the thing. But I feel also with the I'm a big Dances with Wolves fan, and in general a Kevin Costner fan, even if people don't like him. I mean, I know a lot of people they don't like him because he is a pain in the ass to to work with, but. I felt with Horizon, you can see how time went by and in a bad way. You know,
Right.
I think with Horizon, if he would did that 20 years ago, he would did it different and he would did it more in this kind of I think he lost that touch that I think Horizon is not better as any Taylor Sheridan TV show, you know, the 1923 with Harrison Ford or the 1883. I like that the shows more as I liked Horizon. I'm a big Western fan, so I cannot say I hated Horizon. I cannot say this, but I felt like that's not on the level you need to bring people three times to the movie theaters. That's I have no clue how this continues, but. He should take that Netflix deal that he's just finishing it for a streamer, otherwise, he will lose all his money on this. Yeah, and I mean, I try with movies. I did after First Shift. I did Run, what is not released with Amanda Plummer and Barkat Abdi about the migrant crisis in Europe, and I did Citizen Vigilante with Armie Hammer. Like I felt I watched him in Bill Mayer in a talk show, and I felt that he's canceled is kind of too much. You know,
Sure.
like this kind of like, you know, I mean, he was not prosecuted. There was no lawsuit. His wife left him. He got off the drugs and off the alcohol, and now he still cannot work. I
And
mean,
he's branded a cannibal when he hasn't eaten anybody.
yeah, because he texted it, "I want to eat you," right? So
Right.
okay,
And we
but
all have dark fantasies or whatever, but the guy hasn't eaten anybody.
yeah,
So
yeah, and I felt he's so a good actor, so I hired him for the film. I think he was happy. I was happy. He did a good job, and now we will see, like at the AFM, we will be there. I will be also this year there, and we will do a run like kind of a premiere where we get the actors and we do Citizen Vigilante, and then I hope I can make some sales. And but these are in a way two films. They're very about real situations what we face in Europe. The one is this boat migrants who overrun the country, and I show the good and the bad. And that was already, I tried to get it into film festivals. They all passed, like Tribeca, South by Southwest. They all passed on it. Even if it's a very even out movie, where you see, like, let's say you have a boat of 80 migrants, you know, there are two drug smugglers on it, but the rest just wants a better life. And if you do this now, you're already politically incorrect. You know, because they have the feeling like, no, you cannot do that. You have to show only that there's the best people on earth coming on that boat. So totally absurd. And I hope that the movie will get distribution and people will watch it. And Citizen Vigilante is very brutal, because there he goes, what is also happening in Europe, against rapists who are not getting prosecuted. You have that in Europe also all the times that they are basically, oh, this is traumatized. Like he's only 16 years old. And we have in Germany 30 rapes a day. And 29 are from Afghanistan people and Syrian people and so on. And they don't face here the reality. The population is super pissed about all of this and they sugarcoat it and don't show it. So I felt, okay, I'm totally pro migration, but not pro, okay, you do whatever you want when you come into a country and you bring your whatever religion with you and you bring your behavior with you and you don't respect what's going on. And that's the problem now. And I feel that's the thing also. Nobody attacked that subject matter. When you see, like today, I read an article, the best 4D migration movies. They were like in the whatever the rap or whoever released that thing today. And uh, all that movies have the same thing, the poor migrants, right? So but yeah, I would go away also if I could from Afghanistan. But uh, we also, America or Germany or whatever, we also need uh, like that you come here and you get support, but then you are a valuable member of society, you know, and you can have whatever religion, I don't care, but you cannot have your religion interfere with the daily work or with the law and stuff like this, and I see here in Germany specific that they are not respecting us. That they like in when you go to railway stations in Frankfurt or whatever, they're very much controlling the public life. They're hanging out outside and so on, and it's crazy. And I think that's a whole political subject, but I feel like, okay, I want to make movies, they trigger like reactions, where people say, how could you do this, whatever, you serve Trump, like with the, something like that. They will say that about the movie. But I make movies about facts and things they happened. That was the reason I did Tunnel Rats the way I did it, that it's so senseless. Like first they kill each other, then they try to dig themselves out together. Now they recognizing, oh fuck, we have to work together, we're all dead, and then they still die. And that was for me so important, that bitter end of Tunnel Rats. This kind of like they don't get the happy end. And yeah, so, and I mean, I just hope that more and more people um, like give that newer movies a chance, and say, look, forget House of the Dead, but I'm not forgetting House of the Dead. I'm happy that I did the movie.
Right, and it was successful and everything. But yeah, you shouldn't be judged by, any one failure or success.
Yeah, and that's the thing, And I felt like there was a guy in Germany. His name is David Hein. He's a very big YouTuber in the movie thing, and he released a few weeks ago his top 10 of the worst films ever. So they were like, and then my top, the number one worst film ever was for him Hanau, a German film about the right-wing terror attack I did, and he said not because the movie's bad, but that Overball did that film against the will of the relatives of the victims.
Right.
And then I called him and said, let's do also a video like what we're doing here right now. Basically, let's talk it out, because I think you didn't really did your research here, And then we talked for 1.5 hours. It was a very good talk, very positive. Also, people watched it, and um, because what happened was. Um, there was a big newspaper. They said Uwe Boll is doing a very brutal movie about a right-wing attack in Hanau. And then the families flipped completely out. And like, no, we don't want to see on screen how our son got shot and whatever. But that all, and then they said Uwe Boll cannot shoot the movie. But the movie was done when that campaign was, and that is what that guy didn't know. So I told him, like, the movie was shot when the campaign comes. You
Mhm.
think I ignored what they said, but I didn't. And on the other hand, I also unfortunately have to say, you cannot say we cannot show this because people's feeling get hurt. I mean, that was a clear movie against the right-wing fascists running amok, like the Breivik guy in Norway, similar, like the guy in Hanau here. And I said, look, uh, you cannot like, okay, there were people died in Vietnam. Now we cannot make a Vietnam War movie. Or what? I mean, what's the
Right,
point?
exactly. Artists have to have the permission to create, or they don't
Yeah.
need permission to create. Really, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't think it's up. And it's never like it never really works out when people are like, I'm so invested in telling my story because that's how the edges get sanded off that story. We've seen it so many times with all these music biopics, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
the. I mean, I cannot wait for the Michael Jackson one. How they want to handle this?
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that could be a really bitter biopic in the end. And
I don't think Lionsgate knows how it's going to handle it right now.
no, they're holding it back, right? So, I mean,
Well,
who would
they
watch?
had to rewrite the whole ending.
Yeah, but look, if you trash him into the can in the end, and he's a pedophile, basically, if you would do this, no Michael Jackson film will go and watch that movie. Fan. Like the fans will not watch it then, right? So, and now you lose all your box office.
The estate was on set every day, I think. So, it was very hands-on. I'd be surprised if they really went in that direction.
Yeah, but that's the thing where let's say they ignored it
Not
completely, then
honest.
it's
Yeah,
not a real biopic.
exactly.
That's the problem. So let's see what Puff Daddy's biopic looks like in the
Uh,
end. I mean, he gets off maybe with a few years now. Um, we will see. I mean, the law is like this kind of absurd. I think that he was not in court because of the video where he really beat it up that girlfriend. That
mhm.
was not part of the lawsuit. So they couldn't give him a penalty for this. But I mean, the video shows, for me, the video shows what he was capable of doing.
Yeah, it
So
speaks for itself.
and for me, then all the witnesses were very believable for me that he did exactly what they said. And that's the thing, and that then they couldn't find a judgment there. That's kind of absurd. I mean, yeah, we will see. I read today Kanye West gets also charged for something like this in
Oh
connection
yeah,
to
assistant accused him. Yeah, I haven't read the details on that case. I mean, do you watch a lot of like American TV?
yeah, I'm watching Bill Mayer, like stuff like this, and I mean, what you mean with TV, like TV shows? Yeah, of course. I mean, they
Yeah, I
are.
mean, I didn't know if there was like a scripted show where you'd love to come in and direct a block of episodes.
I just started watching the Tom Segura Bad Thought things on Netflix, and I mean, it's like uh, sometimes it's so dirty that it's not funny, I think, but it's the postal direction where this kind of comedy goes in. So I have a blast watching this. And I made a proposal at one point, but nobody wanted it. I said, let's do something like California Fried Movie. Like the Kentucky Fried Movie, kind of you have a compilation film. So you can make jokes about everything, like a sports show, football, Taylor Swift. So you're not like SNL as a film or series, but harder, like funnier, not this kind of toned down humor. I would
Yeah.
love to do that and see that. And I proposed various things over the years. I had a very good script, Werewolves Walk, for an 8-part miniseries with like basically kids getting kidnapped. And but it escalates. So you have like a lot of kids getting kidnapped, and the whole country is like, "What the fuck? Why we cannot even with video?" So it's a very dark thing, and a little like True Detectives with Judy Foster style. But I think it was very well written from a guy from Washington D.C. and but also there nobody jumped on it, and so that's the thing. It's like. Uh, you throw things out and you hope that they bite, that they say let's do this, but then they don't. I mean, it's very tough. I had a meeting with Apple, and Apple basically told me I need superstars. Like when you have they said like under Matt Damon level, we're not doing anything basically. So
Right. That's their whole model is the A-list star driven
yeah,
stuff.
but I mean, how you want to get them? Like when I make an offer to somebody, then the first email back is, uh, what's the budget? Who's backing it? And then and pay or play, please. So uh,
Right.
so that's the thing. We have one great project what MGM, now Amazon, wanted to do, that was basically the Untouchables Part 2. So the last case of Elliot Ness, the butcher of Kingsbury Run, it was like where he was tracking down in Cleveland uh, like a serial murder. And they basically, at that point, in the very end, catch the black guy, not Elliot Ness, like the other cops. And this guy was then found hanged in the jail cell. And they said, oh, we got it done. Because the real serial murder was a cousin of a senator. And
Mhm.
so they let him off the hook. And MGM said, get Kevin Costner again. And then we do it. And Kevin Costner is not doing it, not reacting to it, not doing it, and he would get paid. And I mean, Untouchables was a masterpiece. I mean, it is a great, great movie, and I think it would totally work if he would do this again. And I don't get it. Like he gives interviews and needs 50 million bucks, whatever, to continue Horizon. Okay, then maybe take 10 and do Untouchables.
Right.
That's what I don't get. We contacted the manager, we contacted the agent, and they're like, no, he's not interested in it. And I don't know. Maybe this guy's getting too many offers. I don't know, but I mean,
Well, you know who you should do that with. First of all, my friend Mark Andreyko did that graphic novel Torso, which Fincher was going to direct. That's the Elliot Ness serial killer in Cleveland story.
oh, okay, yeah.
But your buddy Army Hammer would be good as a young Elliot Ness.
Yeah, but he was older at that point in his career where the case happened, right? So that's the problem. And when I talked to, I had UTA selling Run, and they couldn't sell it, right? So they had like too many movies, they couldn't sell it. They screened it. He said, "Oh, everybody stayed at the screening, everybody had a good impression, whatever." And then like, okay, are there any offers? And they're like, "Oh no." So we wait, and then nothing happened. And when I said I'm doing Citizen Vigilante with Army Hammer, they said nobody will touch it. So they said directly, nobody will touch it. But that's the thing where I feel like, okay, if we don't break this stuff, then it's all over. If everybody says, I agree why Army Hammer shouldn't be in the movie, and then like, oh, but we will not touch it or we will never touch it. I think that's cheap. That's idiotic. I mean, I would not make a movie with Puff Daddy, to be honest, right? Like, I mean, I have my moral lines where I say, okay, that's too much, and I don't want to have anything to do with this person. But I
Right.
don't see that in Army Hammer. And when I worked with him, it was a pleasure, right? So he had no attitude, no like where you had the feeling he's arrogant, zero. And
Right.
that's the thing.
It's nice that you can make that decision for yourself, whereas a lot of filmmakers wouldn't consider casting him because they just listened to that conventional advice or they just let the town decide for them.
Yeah, and then people don't get jobs anymore. So, and that's the thing also where I feel like I think with the whole Woody Allen thing went a little overboard. Like that did he did that? Did he not? I don't know. But I know that he's 85 or 90 years old or whatever, and that it's the only claim whatever happened in his life. I mean, why not an actress who was young or other girls or whatever came up with something? Why
Right.
only a disgruntled ex-wife comes up with this? That's just for me too hard to believe that like that's the thing. So, I mean, Woody Allen is so in a way old and it's all over. But I felt always that's kind of an injustice because if he didn't did it, think what the world did to him. And I think different to Roman Polanski, where I mean, he did it, and it's crystal clear he did it, and that's not okay. And he was in a way punished that he could never travel to the US back. But I think he's a great director, but he lost for me like the respect,
Sure,
basically.
of course, of course. Although, yeah, it seemed like it never happened again. Typically predators exhibit patterns. I can't say that was the only incident, but that's all we know of.
Yeah, and then have Harvey Weinstein, like where he
Right.
maybe gets off. I don't know, but I mean, it's like everybody knew that at least he was a total asshole, to everybody, basically a dominant asshole. And I had like my Harvey Weinstein story is funny because I had Dan Sales was my sales agent in Cannes, and one day I came in our sales booth and he had a blue eye, like a swollen eye. And he said he had a seizure and fell out of the bed. And I told him, like, how can you get a blue eye, like with falling out of your bed? Like how you want to fall? Like, like I mean on the carpet. Like, and then it turned out later, a guy told me that he was in the elevator with Harvey Weinstein and and told him like, Harvey, we maybe have a movie for you. And then he hit him full on in the face, like boom.
Mm.
Uh, and I mean, that shows what asshole Harvey Weinstein was. Like what a little fucker, like this kind of, or the sales agent.
He thought he could do anything to anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, he threatened people, you will never work again, and so on. And I mean, 100% tons of girls slept with him to have a career, and he didn't rape them. But also, he felt like, nah, if I have to pressure them a little or blackmail them a little or whatever, I mean, it's so crystal clear that he did that all the time, and I think he got the right penalty.
Yeah, he definitely belongs behind bars. I, I
Yeah.
can't see I can't see him getting out.
Yeah. So, what was for you the best film this year so far?
This year, I mean, it's been a pretty weak first 6 months of the year, I think. My favorite was actually Final Destination, Bloodlines. I thought that those two guys did a great job. Stein and Lipovsky, who, were young contestants on Spielberg's reality show back in the day,
Ah,
on the
okay. Yeah.
And I also like this Norwegian movie, The Ugly Stepsister.
I never watched this. So,
You should
yeah.
check that one out. The Ugly Stepsister. It's like a twisted take on the Cinderella story from the stepsister's point of view.
Ah, okay. I will watch this. Yeah. So, maybe we see each other in LA on. I will email you when we do the Run and Citizen Vigilante screening. We will bring the actors, also Army, and maybe we meet in person there. And yeah,
Yeah, no, it would be great to grab a bite or grab a drink or something and catch up again
absolutely,
in person.
absolutely.
And yeah, for everybody watching, I've got my newsletter, theinsnyder.com, chronicles the development world in Hollywood, and I hope to be writing about another one of your movies soon, Uwe.
Absolutely. And thanks so much. And
Thank you, sir.
stop the recording.